Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are continuing our series on the great mythologies of the world, and today we are tackling something that, frankly, broke my brain a little bit while I was reading the prep material.
Just a little bit.
Okay, maybe a lot. Usually when we talk about a map, we're talking about geography. Latitude, longitude, mountains, oceans, places you can go.
Places you can visit with a passport and a plane ticket.
Exactly. But today, we're looking at a map of the universe from the Buddhist tradition. And while it does have mountains and oceans, you can't exactly book a flight there.
Well, you can.
Right, but the currency isn't money, it's karma. And the vehicle isn't a plane, it's your own mind.
That is a very, very accurate way to start. We are exploring what the source text calls the architecture of enlightenment.
It's such a massive topic.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a system that incorporates heavens, hells, ghosts, gods, and a mountain that is literally impossibly tall. When I first opened the source text, the architecture of enlightenment, my knee-jerk reaction was to treat this like fantasy. Like here be dragons. It felt like just a collection of tall tales from the ancient world.
And that is the most common reaction. It's totally understandable. We look at these ancient cosmologies with our modern scientific lens, and we think, well, obviously the Earth isn't flat and resting on a golden disk, so this must just be primitive nonsense.
Right. Dismiss it.
But if you stop there, you miss the entire point of what this literature is actually trying to do.
And that's the hook for this deep dive.
Right.
Because the source material throws a term at us right in the introduction that completely changed how I read the rest of the stack. It calls this universe a rigorous psychocosmogram.
It is a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Psychocosmogram.
It is. So let's break that down before we even step foot on the map. What are we actually looking at here?
Okay, so let's just break the word into its parts. Psycho refers to the psyche, right? The mind, the internal state of consciousness.
Okay.
Cosmo refers to the cosmos, the external arrangement of the universe. And kawaram is just a map or a diagram.
So a mind-universe map.
Exactly. A psychocosmogram is a map where the external reality corresponds precisely, almost mathematically, to internal states of mind.
So in this system, geography is morality.
Precisely. In our modern world, you can be a terrible person and live in a beautiful penthouse in Manhattan, or you can be a saint and live in a war zone.
The geography doesn't care about your morality.
It's completely indifferent. But in Buddhist cosmology, the universe is a mirror. If you are burning with rage, that isn't just a feeling inside your head. It corresponds to a specific coordinate in the cosmos, one of the hot hells.
Yeah.
And if you are in a state of cool, detached charity, that corresponds to a celestial mansion in one of the heavens. Your location is your state of mind.
So when we talk about climbing Mount Sumeru today or, diving into the oceans, we're really talking about navigating the human mind.
We're exploring what the text calls the vocabulary of ascent. This map wasn't drawn for explorers or geographers. It was drawn for practitioners. It's a roadmap from the heaviest, grossest forms of suffering all the way up to the subtle, radiant luminosity of enlightenment.
I love that. It turns this whole thing into a mirror for us. So let's start where all great maps start. The origin point. The center of it all.
The axis mundi.
The world axis. So if we unroll this scroll, what's smack dab in the middle?
A mountain. Mount Sumeru. Sometimes you'll see it called Meru or Sinuru.
But this isn't just a big Everest. The dimensions here are,
Yeah.
well, they're ridiculous, frankly.
They are deliberately mind-boggling. They're meant to be.
The text says Mount Sumeru rises to a height of 84,000 yoganas. Now, I had to look up a yogana. It's an ancient measurement, roughly 7 to 9 miles.
Right.
So doing the math, we are talking about a mountain that is roughly, 600,000 miles high?
Something like that, yeah.
That is more than twice the distance to the moon.
Correct.
Physically, that is impossible. It would crush the planet. It would stick out into deep space.
And that is your first clue that we aren't talking about geology. We are talking about metaphysics. This is the vertical gesture of the universe. It is the anchor.
A vertical gesture. I like that.
And notice the symmetry in the description. It rises 84,000 yojanas up, but it also extends 84,000 yojanas down into the cosmic ocean.
It's like an iceberg.
A perfectly balanced iceberg. It suggests that the visible world, the height of the heavens, everything we aspire to, is perfectly counterpoised by the depth of the foundation. It anchors the whole world system. If you want to understand the stability of the cosmos, you look to Sumeru.
There was this one detail about the composition of the mountain that I found really poetic. It sort of creates a, why is the sky blue story that rivals anything in physics.
Yes, the four faces of the mountain. It's a beautiful detail. The mountain isn't just rock, it's made of precious substances. The north face is gold, the east is silver, the west is crystal.
And the south, the one facing us.
The south face is made of lapis lazuli, that deep, vibrant, almost electric blue stone.
And according to this map, where are we? Where do humans live?
We, humanity, live on a continent situated to the south of Mount Sumeru. So when we look up, we are looking toward the mountain.
So the reason our sky is blue
is not because of atmospheric scattering of light waves. It is because we are seeing the reflection of the lapis lazuli face of Mount Sumeru shimmering in the waters of the cosmic ocean.
That is beautiful. It makes you feel connected to the center, even if you can't see it. You're living in its reflection.
It creates a sense of orientation. You are always, in some way, facing the axis of reality.
But Sumeru isn't just standing there alone in the ocean. It's got a kind of security system around it, right?
It does, a very elaborate one. Surrounding the main peak are 7 concentric rings of golden mountains. The text calls them the Kankana Parvata.
And separating these rings
Or the Seas of Enjoyment.
Seas of Enjoyment sounds like a resort package from a travel agency.
It certainly sounds better than the salt ocean we're used to, and the texts are very, very specific here. The water in these inner seas has 8 perfect qualities.
8 qualities. Okay, like what?
It is cool, sweet, light, soft, clear, odorless. And then it gets interesting. It's harmless to the throat and soothing to the stomach.
Harmless to the throat. What does that even mean?
It means it never chokes you. You can't drown in it in the painful sense we understand. It's water, but it's perfected water, a purified form.
And these seas are full of treasure.
Yes, wish-fulfilling jewels. And they're populated by Nagas, the great serpent deities who are the guardians of these waters and treasures.
Okay, so you have this golden, jeweled, perfect center, but that's not where we live. We are out in the suburbs, so to speak.
We are in the boonies, relatively speaking. Beyond the 7th Golden Mountain Ring, there is a massive outer wall called the Kakavala.
The Kakavala.
It's an iron mountain range. And this is the fence at the very edge of the universe that keeps all the cosmic waters from just falling into the void.
So it's the container.
It's the container. And between that golden, perfect center and the cold iron wall at the edge lies the great outer salt ocean.
And this is where we find ourselves. This brings us to the creation myth, or maybe more accurately, the structure of our world. Floating in this salt ocean are the 4 continents.
The 4 Dvipas.
And I have to stop you here, because this is where the modern brain really rebels.
Yeah.
We're talking about a flat Earth model.
We are. There is no getting around it. The cosmology, as it's written, describes a flat disk with a mountain in the middle and islands floating around it.
So how do we deal with that? I mean, we have photos of the Earth from space. It's a sphere. Does this invalidate the whole philosophy? Does it mean we just throw it all out?
That is the friction point. And it's a really important one. If you read this as a literal geology textbook, yes, it's wrong. But the Dalai Lama himself has addressed this very issue.
Oh, really? What did he say?
He famously said that if science proves a specific claim in the scriptures wrong, like the shape of the earth, or that the moon emits its own light, then Buddhism has to change, not the science. The scripture must be reinterpreted.
Do we toss out the map?
No, we change how we read it. We stop looking at it as a GPS coordinate system and start looking at it as a system of relations. It's not about whether the earth is literally shaped like a triangle. It's about where humanity sits in relation to desire, suffering, and the potential for awakening.
Okay, I can work with that. So let's look at that relation. We live on the southern continent, Jambudvipa.
Roseapple Island. It's named after the massive jambu tree that supposedly grows there. In the myth, this represents India, but by extension, it's our entire known human world, and it is shaped like a chariot or a triangle.
Which I guess sort of matches the shape of the Indian subcontinent. But why does this continent matter so much? Because when you compare it to the others, it sounds kind of rough.
It is rough, and that is exactly why it matters. Let's compare it to the northern continent, Uttarakuru.
Yeah, tell us about the north, because on paper, that place sounds like an absolute utopia.
It is a mundane paradise, a worldly paradise. The text says the continent is square, the people there are beautiful, they live for a fixed lifespan of exactly 1,000 years.
Exactly 1,000.
Yes, they never die young. They never get sick.
And the economy. What's life like?
There is no economy. There's no private property. The trees just grow clothes and any food you could want. There is no concept of mine and yours, so there is no theft, no greed, no jealousy, no war.
Sign me up. Seriously, why would anyone want to be here in the South with taxes and flu season and all the rest when they could be in the North living for a millennium in perfect peace?
Because from the perspective of enlightenment, Uttarakuru is a disaster. It is a spiritual dead end.
How can a paradise be a dead end? That makes no sense.
Think about it. If you have no suffering, no loss, no illness, and you know for a fact you will live exactly 1,000 years, what motivation do you have to look deeper into the nature of reality?
I guess. None.
You have no reason to question anything. You have no spiritual urgency. You are essentially a tourist in a luxury hotel that lasts your whole life. You enjoy your stay. You use up all your good merit from past lives. And when the 1,000 years are up, you die and fall straight into a lower realm because you didn't do any spiritual work.
Wow, that is a powerful idea.
Huh.
That friction is necessary for traction.
Exactly. Jambudvipa, our world, is considered the most auspicious place in the entire universe for one reason. It has a perfect mix of pleasure and pain.
The sweet spot.
We have enough intelligence to understand the Dharma, but enough suffering, sickness, old age, death, to want to escape samsara, the cycle of rebirth. This is the land of karmic potency.
So we're in the right place. Too much pain like in the hells and you can't think. Too much pleasure like in the north and you just don't care to think.
Precisely. This is the only place where Buddhas appear. They don't go to the paradise world. They come here to Jambudvipa, where the work needs to be done and can be done.
That reframes the grittiness of our world completely. It's not a punishment, it's a gym.
An excellent way to put it. It's a training ground.
Okay, so that's the horizontal layout. We have the continents. Now we need to look up, we need to climb the skyscraper. This is the divine hierarchy, the 31 planes of existence.
This is where the psychocosmogram really gets vertical. The universe is divided into 3 primary dhatus, or realms. You can think of them as floors in a massive cosmic building.
So, ground floor, where are we?
We are in the Kamadhatu, the realm of desire.
Realm of desire. It sounds sultry, but I have a feeling it's more technical than that.
It is. It refers to how we interact with reality. In this realm, beings are driven by sensory gratification. We want to see, hear, taste, touch, and smell pleasant things. We are hooked on sensory input.
And who lives here?
It's a wide range. This includes the hells, the animals, the hungry ghosts, humans, and the 6 lower heavens.
Wait, hold on. Even the heavens are in the realm of desire. I thought heaven was the goal.
Not in this system. The devas, the gods in these lower heavens, are just living superhuman lives. They have better food, beautiful bodies, much longer lives, but they are still fundamentally chasing the next dopamine hit. They are still trapped in the cycle of wanting.
So what happens if you ascend past that? What is the next floor up?
The Rupadhatu, the realm of form. This corresponds to the first 4 dhyanas, which are states of deep meditative absorption.
So if I'm a monk meditating in a cave, and I enter a really deep trance, am I physically traveling to this realm?
Mentally, yes. You are tuning your consciousness to that frequency. Beings born in these realms have bodies, but they're made of subtle light. They don't have coarse sexual characteristics. They don't eat physical food.
What do they eat?
The text says they feed on meditative joy.
That sounds intense, feeding on joy.
It represents a state of mind where the coarse desire for physical sensation has just dropped away. You don't need a sandwich. The vibration of your own focused mind sustains you. But there is a trap here, too.
There's always a catch, isn't there?
There is always a more subtle delusion. In this case, it's the delusion of Brahma.
Oh, I loved this part, the God complex.
Literally, in the first dhyana planes, you have beings like Mahabrahma. So, the story goes, after a cosmic cycle restarts and the universe reforms, he is often the first being to be reborn there. He lives for an incredibly, incredibly long time. He looks around, sees no one else, and thinks, I am alone. I am the Great One, the Creator.
And then when other beings eventually show up,
He thinks, I must have created them with my will, and they, seeing him already there, think, he must have created us.
so he thinks he's the creator God, but he's really just the guy who got to the party first and has a really, really long lease.
That's it exactly. It's a delusion born of an immense lifespan. He is still in samsara. He is still subject to karma and impermanence. He just doesn't realize it yet because his time scale is so vast.
So even the creator is just another being stuck in the system. That is a radical thought. Okay, top floor, the penthouse. What's up there?
The Arupa Dhatu, the formless realm.
If the previous floor was bodies made of light, what is this?
Nothing, no matter, no location, no shape. These are 4 planes of pure mental existence, just consciousness itself.
What does that even feel like? How can you even describe that?
It's incredibly hard for us to imagine. The four levels are described as the sphere of infinite space, the sphere of infinite consciousness, the sphere of nothingness, and the highest one, the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception.
Neither perception nor non-perception. My brain is doing gymnastics trying to picture that.
It's the subtlest state of existence possible within samsara. It's so refined that you can barely say it exists, but you can't say it doesn't exist either. It is the absolute peak of what the mind can achieve within the cycle of rebirth.
But then this is the absolute kicker. It's still samsara.
Yes. That's the crucial point. Even from that highest peak, you eventually exhaust your good karma and fall back down. You haven't exited the building, you're just on the roof enjoying the view.
So we have the map. Now I want to meet the locals. We've talked about Brahma, but this universe is teeming with entities. And we need to distinguish between gods and enlightened beings. Because in the West, we tend to mash those two together.
It's a huge fundamental distinction. In this system, a god or a deva is just a powerful being having a good run. They have a long life, great pleasures, but they are not enlightened. They are still on the wheel.
Still in the building.
Right. A Buddha is someone who has woken up and stepped out of the system entirely. A Buddha is higher than any god, even if that Buddha appears as a simple human monk holding a begging bowl.
Let's talk about the protectors. Because if you walk into a Buddhist temple, especially a Tibetan one, you see these terrifying statues. They do not look like peaceful guys meditating. They look like absolute nightmares.
These are the Dharmapalas, the protectors of the teaching, and the guardian kings. Let's start with the four heavenly kings, the Katurma Haraja.
These guys are the bouncers.
They are the guardians of the four directions, living on the lower terraces of Mount Sumeru. Their main job is to protect the heavens of the Devas from the Asuras.
Okay, who are the Asuras? We skip them in the hierarchy, but they sound important.
They are crucial. The Asuras are demigods, or titans. They live at the very base of Mount Sumeru, and they are defined by one primary emotion: envy?
Envy.
They are powerful, strong, intelligent, but they are consumed with jealousy. They are constantly looking up at the devas on the peak and thinking, why do they have the wish-fulfilling tree? Why do they have the best palaces? So they wage constant war.
So the four kings are the front line of defense.
Exactly. You have Virupaksha in the west. His name means broad-eyed observer. He commands the Nagas, the serpent beings. And in the north, you have Vaishravana, the listener. He commands the Yakshas, who are fierce nature and warrior spirits.
And he's the one with the mongoose, right? I saw a picture.
Yes, the iconography is very specific. He holds a mongoose that is spitting out jewels.
Why a mongoose? That seems so random.
Because in ancient India, the mongoose was the natural enemy of the snake, the naga. And since nagas are known to guard treasure, the mongoose symbolizes the power that conquers the guardians of wealth and then generously dispenses that wealth. It's a symbol of spiritual riches.
That is wild. Okay, now let's go darker. The wisdom kings. The Vijayaraja, specifically Yamantaka. This image in the book kept me up at night.
Yamantaka is the destroyer of death. And to understand him, you have to look at the visual. He has the head of a furious buffalo. He has dark blue-black skin. He is surrounded by a blazing fire of wisdom. He has infinite arms holding weapons, and he is stomping on a corpse.
He looks like a demon, the king of demons.
He looks like a super demon, but he is actually a wrathful emanation of Manjushri, the bodhisattva of gentle wisdom.
Why would gentle wisdom dress up like a buffalo monster?
The myth says that Yama, the Lord of Death, was rampaging through the world. Manjushri realized he couldn't defeat death by being polite or gentle, so he mirrored death. He took the form of Yama, who also has a buffalo head, but he multiplied it to infinity. He added more heads, more arms, more legs.
He outmonstered the monster.
He exploded the concept of death. By showing that form is empty and can be infinitely multiplied, he scared death itself into submission. It's a profound psychological symbol. You don't conquer your fear of death by ignoring it. You conquer it by becoming it, facing it down, and realizing it has no solid, ultimate reality.
That is the psychocosmogram in action. The monster isn't out there. It's a tool for your mind.
Exactly. It's an archetype to work with.
And then there is Palden Lamo, the main female protector. Her mode of transport is, well, it's heavy metal.
It is visceral. It's meant to be. She is the supreme protectress of Tibet. She rides a mule. But she isn't riding on glass or clouds. She is riding across a sea of menstrual blood and brains.
Whoa. That is incredibly specific.
It is meant to be shocking. It symbolizes her absolute dominance over the fundamental cycles of birth, symbolized by blood and death, symbolized by brains. She isn't afraid of the messy, biological, terrifying reality of samsara. She rides right over the top of it. She cuts through all delusion.
So these gods aren't there to be worshipped in the sense of, please give me a new car. They are there to shock you into a new state of awareness.
They are archetypes of transformation. They are tools.
This brings us to the heroes of the story. If the gods are just powerful inmates, who are the ones actually escaping the prison?
The liberated ones. And there is a clear hierarchy here, too, which defines the major schools of Buddhism.
Right. And this seems to be the big divide, the Arhat versus the Bodhisattva.
It is the defining difference between the Theravada and Mahayana traditions. The Arhat, or the worthy one, is the ideal of the Theravada school. This is someone who has, through their own effort, purified their mind, eradicated all greed, hatred, and delusion, and attained nirvana. They are done. They have put down the burden.
Self-liberation? I did it. I'm out.
Yes. But the Mahayana tradition came along and asked a provocative question. If you have made it safely to the shore, how can you just walk away while everyone else is still drowning in the ocean?
Enter the Bodhisattva.
The Bodhisattva. This is a being who has the capacity to enter nirvana, to leave the burning house for good, but pauses at the door. They take a vow to stay in samsara, to be reborn again and again until every single being is saved.
Until hell is empty.
That is the vow. It is motivated by a quality called bodhicitta.
Which translates to what exactly?
Literally awakening mind, but a much better translation is the spirit of rescue. It is a total inversion of the normal survival instinct. Usually, if a building is on fire, your first instinct is, get me out.
Right.
Bodhicitta is the instinct that says, I am not leaving until every single other person is out first.
That is a heavy burden to take on.
It is the heaviest burden, but in the Mahayana view, it is the only way to become truly and completely light. You can't be fully free if you are still clinging to the concept of my safety versus your suffering.
I want to touch on one specific legend here that connects nature to these heroes, the story of Muchalinda the Naga King.
It's a favorite. It's a beautiful story. It happens right after the Buddha's enlightenment. He is sitting under a tree, just absorbing his realization. And a massive storm rolls in, unseasonal rain, cold wind for 7 days and 7 nights.
And he's totally exposed.
Completely. But Muchalinda, the king of the Nagas, a giant cobra living in the roots of the tree, senses the presence of the enlightened one. He comes up from under the earth, and instead of attacking, he does 2 things. He coils his massive body 7 times underneath the Buddha to make a cushion, lifting him above the rising mud and water.
Wow.
And then he flares his massive hood over the Buddha's head like a giant umbrella.
Protecting him from the storm.
It's such a powerful image. The serpent, which in many mythologies represents the dangerous, primal, unconscious forces of nature, is tamed by the sheer presence of truth. The lower nature rises up to protect the higher realization.
It's beautiful. Now, speaking of help, let's talk about shortcuts. Because not everyone can be a full-time monk. The text discusses pure lands.
Yes. Buddha, etc. Buddha fields.
You made a note here that was very clear. These are not heavens.
No, absolutely not. A heaven is a place of reward. You go there, you enjoy yourself, you use up your good karma, and then you fall. A pure land is a place of training.
Think of it like a spiritual clean room.
That's a great analogy. It is a spiritually engineered environment. A fully enlightened Buddha uses their immense merit to create a pocket universe where all the conditions are perfectly optimized for attaining enlightenment.
And the most famous one is the Western land, Sukhavati.
The land of bliss.
Yeah.
This is presided over by Amitabha Buddha. The lore says that eons ago, Amitabha made a primal vow that anyone, anywhere who calls his name with sincere faith, especially at the moment of death, will be reborn there.
That seems almost too easy. Compared to the Arhat who meditates for 40 years in a jungle, this person just has to say Amitabha and they get a ticket.
That was the revolution of Pure Land Buddhism. It made the goal of enlightenment accessible to the farmer, the merchant, the uneducated, even the sinner. You don't need to be a great scholar or a master meditator. You need faith.
And what's the environment like in this Pure Land?
It's psychedelic. The ground is made of gold. There are jeweled trees. But here's the engineering part. When the wind blows through the leaves of the trees, it doesn't just make a rustling sound. It produces the sound of the Dharma. It teaches you about impermanence and no self.
So you're constantly learning.
The birds don't just chirp, they sing teachings. You can't help but learn and progress because the environment itself is constantly preaching to you. There's nothing to distract you.
So you can't get distracted by worldly things.
Correct. There's no suffering to distract you, but also no lazy indulgence like in the God realms. It's a one-way express train to nirvana.
But there is another Pure Land mentioned that sounded a lot tougher. The Eastern Land, Abhirati.
Adyati is the domain of Akshobhya Buddha, and his name means the immovable.
And the vibe there is different.
Completely different. It's boot camp. Akshobhya's great vow was to never give way to anger or hatred. So his Pure Land emphasizes extreme discipline and mental fortitude. It's for people of steely resolve. If Sukhavati is a gentle, supportive spiritual spa where the water itself heals you, Abhirati is a high-performance training center for spiritual warriors.
So you can pick your destination based on your personality type.
In a way, yes. The path of faith or the path of iron will.
All right, we've delayed it long enough. We have to go to the basement of this cosmic building. We've seen the penthouse. We've seen the training grounds. Now we have to look at the woeful plains.
The Apaya, the lower realms.
And I want to get specific here because that psychocosmogram idea is strongest in the hells and the ghost realms. But first, the ghosts. The Pretas.
The hungry ghosts. This is the realm of addiction, plain and simple.
What do they look like? The imagery is very striking.
They are depicted with massive, bloated bellies, which symbolize their immense, insatiable hunger and desire. But they have necks as thin as needles and mouths the size of a pinhole.
So they can't swallow.
They are physically constituted to want, but physically unable to ever receive satisfaction. The myths say that when they find food or water, it turns to fire or filth or ash in their mouths.
That sounds like a perfect description of a severe drug addiction. Or any addiction, really. The compulsive grasping for something that stops satisfying you, but you can't stop grasping for it.
It is. The psychology is flawless. We all have days where we are living in the Priyan realm psychologically. The mindset of, I just need one more hit, one more drink, then I'll be happy. But the capacity to actually be satisfied has been completely destroyed.
And then, the Narakas, the hells. And unlike the Christian conception of hell, these aren't eternal.
No. This is a critical point in Buddhist thought. Nothing is eternal, not even punishment. You stay in a hell only until the bad karma that put you there is exhausted.
It could be a very, very long time.
Unimaginably long, eons. But there is always an exit door.
The text divides these into hot hells and cold hells. The hot hells are kind of standard nightmare fuel fire, cauldrons being crushed and revived. Avicii, the uninterrupted hell, sounds particularly bad.
That is the lowest of the low. It's reserved for the worst possible crimes, like killing your parents or killing a Buddha. The suffering there is continuous. No breaks, no moments of relief for an entire kalpa.
But the cold hells, this is new to me. And the names are so haunting. They are named after the sounds the victims make.
Yes. It creates this whole soundscape of suffering. You have atata, which is named for the sound of uncontrollable shivering. Hahava, the sound of a sharp, painful exhalation in the freezing cold. Huhuva, the sound of chattering teeth.
It's onomatopoeia for misery.
Exactly. And then there are the ones named for the physical effects. Arbuda, the blistering hell, where the extreme cold causes the skin to cover in frozen blisters that crack open. And Utpala, the blue lotus hell.
Why blue lotus? That sounds so pretty.
It refers to the color of the skin. The flesh turns blue and then black from the extreme frost, and then it cracks open into a 5-petaled shape, like a lotus flower, to expose the raw, red flesh underneath.
Yikes. Okay, so geography is morality. If the hot hells are the result of hot emotions like rage and anger, what kind of karma lands you in a cold hell?
A cold heart, malicious speech, cynicism, isolationism, the deliberate refusal to connect with others with warmth. If you shut yourself off from warmth and compassion in this life, you build a frozen, isolated landscape for yourself in the next. You end up utterly alone in the ice, just chattering your teeth.
That is chilling, literally. It makes you want to go hug someone right now.
You should. That's the point.
Now let's zoom out, way, way out. We've talked about space. Let's talk about time. The scale of time in this cosmology is just stupidly big.
We are talking about kalpas. Eons.
Okay.
And the numbers are so large as to be meaningless.
So the source gives 2 metaphors for a kalpa because the numbers are too big to actually understand. I love the mustard seed one.
The Buddha said, imagine a city made of iron. 1 yoshana high, 1 yoshana wide, and 1 yoshana long. So a giant cube, maybe 7 miles on each side. And it is packed tight with tiny mustard seeds.
Okay, that's an astronomical number of seeds.
Once every century, every 100 years, a being comes and removes 1 single seed.
1 seed every 100 years.
When that entire city of iron is finally empty, a great kalpa has not yet passed.
That is just existential dread inducing. It's almost comical.
And the second one is just as powerful, the Stone Mountain. Imagine a solid rock mountain miles high. Once every 100 years, a celestial being flies by and gently brushes the peak once with a fine silk cloth.
Just a light dusting.
When that entire mountain is worn down to the ground strictly by the friction of that silk cloth brushing it once a century, a kalpa has still not ended.
It effectively means infinity for the human brain. It's a way of saying, don't even bother trying to count this.
It puts our current deadlines into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. But this universe isn't static. It has an endgame. An apocalypse.
Yeah.
The Seven Sun Sutta.
This is a thermal apocalypse, and the description is astonishing.
So we're talking about the end of the world. Not just a flood or a storm, but a total thermal event. How does a text actually describe this sequence? Because usually these ancient texts can be vague.
This is anything but vague. It's terrifyingly specific. It starts slowly. The Sutta says a long, long drought settles in. No rain for hundreds, thousands of years. And then a second sun appears in the sky.
A second sun.
Right. And just from that added heat, all the small vegetation dies. The medicinal plants, the grasses, they turn to dust. Then, after another long period, a third sun appears. And this is where the major water systems start to fail. The great rivers, the Ganges, the Yamuna, they don't just get lower, they completely evaporate.
So it's a total desiccation of the land.
We're not done. A fourth sun rises. Now the Great Lakes, even the mythical ones in the Himalayas, boil away. Then a fifth sun appears, and this image is haunting. The text says the great oceans recede until the water is only finger deep, like the water left in a cow's hoof print after a rain. And then even that sizzles away.
So the seas of enjoyment, the great salt ocean, all of it gone.
Then the sixth sun appears. Now the earth itself and even the mighty Mount Sumeru begin to smoke. The stone starts to fume and crack.
Let me seventh.
With the appearance of the seventh sun, the entire world system bursts into flame. It explodes in a single massive conflagration. The destruction reaches all the way up to the Brahma world. Everything we just talked about, the continents, the hells, the lower heavens, all of it is incinerated.
And there's a note here in our source connecting this to modern astrophysics.
It's eerie. It's eerily similar to the predicted life cycle of a star like our sun. As our sun begins to die, it will expand into a red giant.
Right.
In that phase, it would swallow the inner planets, Mercury and Venus. It would boil the oceans on Earth, incinerate the atmosphere, and eventually consume the planet itself. The ancient intuition matches the modern scientific projection almost step for step.
That is wild, that ancient monks meditating in caves somehow visualized the red giant phase of the sun.
Insight can come from many places, not just telescopes.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on the secrets, the symbols. Because for the Vajrayana practitioners, the Tantric Buddhists in Tibet, this wasn't just a map of the universe, it was a map of the human body.
This is the internalization phase. If the universe is a psychocosmogram, then your own body is a microcosm of that universe.
So how did the map overlay on the human form?
Mount Sumeru corresponds to the spinal column, the central channel of energy, the Sushumna. The four continents correspond to the chakras or the primary energy centers along that channel.
So when a practitioner is visualizing the mountain,
You are visualizing your own spine.
yeah,
You are establishing your own central axis, your own stability. The deities aren't just out there in some heaven, they are psychological archetypes within your own nervous system.
So Yamantaka, the terrifying buffalo monster, is inside me.
He is the part of your own consciousness capable of ferocious, unstoppable transformation. When you visualize that deity and then dissolve it back into emptiness, you are transmuting your own anger into enlightened wisdom. The cosmology becomes a technology of the self.
And finally, the legacy of all this, the multiverse.
Yes, while the early Theravada tradition focused on this single world system we've been describing, the Saha world, the Mahayana blew the doors wide open. They introduced the idea of infinite world systems.
So it's basically Doctor Strange.
It is a multiverse, yes. They say there are as many world systems as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River. And in each one, a Buddha might be teaching, or different beings might be living. Our world is just one of many.
It really anticipates the modern feeling of a vast, possibly populated universe. We feel so small when we look at those Hubble Deep Field images.
And Buddhism says, yes, you are small. The universe is infinite, but your mind is capable of encompassing all of it.
So let's bring it all home. What does this all mean for us? The listener might be driving to work or folding laundry. They aren't on Mount Sumeru. They aren't in a cold hell, hopefully. Why does this ancient, bizarre map matter today?
I think we have to go back to that very first idea we discussed. the psychocosmogram.
The mirror.
Exactly. This system is not asking you to believe in a literal flat Earth. It's inviting you to recognize the Ashura in your own anger and jealousy. When you are fighting for status at work, feeling consumed with envy, you are, in that moment, living in the Ashura realm.
Okay.
When you are mindlessly scrolling on your phone, consuming content without any real satisfaction, you are a hungry ghost. When you are lost in a blissful delusion that everything is fine while actively ignoring the suffering of your neighbor, you are a long-lived god in a golden trap.
And when you are aware of all that,
You are tapping into the potential of the Buddha, the potential to be awake.
geography is morality.
It is. The ultimate goal isn't to travel to these fantastic places. It is to learn how to navigate the map of your own mind, to move from the grossest suffering, the hells of your own making, to the subtle, clear luminosity of wisdom.
That is a beautiful place to land. It's not about believing in a mountain 600,000 miles high. It's about understanding the mountain inside you.
Perfectly said. That's the whole journey.
Thank you for taking us on this tour. It was cosmic, to say the least.
It was my pleasure. It's a fun map to explore.
And everyone listening, if you want to keep exploring the architecture of reality with us, and trust me, we have some wild mythologies coming up next, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And leave us a comment. Which realm do you think you're living in right now? Hopefully not the chattering teeth one. Until next time, keep climbing.